demand that you try for the close as soon as you've established value. You don't want to wait until the last minute. You don't want to wait till you give all the information by any stretch of imagination. If you do wait until the last minute, then you can rest assured that some prospects are just going to automatically say no, whatever the first closing attempt is. More importantly, they fear that they will be made to look foolish if they make a fast decision and say yes the first time it is offered. What they really need to find out is as much information so they can make an intelligent decision. Just keep remembering that the fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. Make the prospect feel secure that a yes decision is a right decision. In short, you make it easier for them to buy. Let me set up this little situation with questions. How many of you would give me $100 for an item that you absolutely knew was worth only $50? Can I see your hands? I don't see a single hand going up. How many of you would give me $100 for an item that you knew was worth only $50 if I used my 3 best closes? I mean powerhouse closes on you. Still no hands going up. How many of you would give me $100 for an item you knew was worth only $50 if I kind of paraded the sympathy button? I mean, my family is in need. I got a boy that's going to have to drop out of school if I don't make some sales. The answer, I still don't see any hands going up. Now, what I'm trying to establish is this. When the prospect has said no, what they're really saying is, based on the information you've given me so far, your price is up here. Your value is way down here. And I'm not going to give you a big stack of money for a little stack of benefit. That's what they're saying. And so when the prospect says no, and you say, oh, you know you want it, go ahead, sign here. Or you're going to get it sooner or later, go ahead and sign here. You are not selling, you are irritating. You're coming across as a high-pressure salesperson. When a prospect says no, they're basing it on what they know at that point. And if they do not know enough to say yes, if you try to pressure them into buying them, all you're going to do is irritate them. So in the closing process, remember, it must be educational. Since they've said no based on what they know, if you'll let them know more, then the chances are good that you can change the value and get the sale. Every closing effort should be educational in the process. And your integrity here is again at stake. You want to keep it exactly in the truthful lane. Don't oversell. When you oversell, you get in trouble. I'm reminded so much of the story of the Roman Catholic girl dating a Southern Baptist boy. And after about the 5th date, that gal came in one night and she was motivated. I mean, she was excited. She had those stars in her eyes. She was just skipping up the front steps, and Mama knew daughter was in trouble. She said, daughter, we're going to have to terminate this relationship. You know, us Catholics don't marry those Baptists. Those Baptists don't marry us Catholics. And the girl said, Mom, I've fallen in love with the boy. Can't we do something? And like all mothers since the beginning of time, she responded to a daughter's need. And she said, yes, daughter, I believe there is. Maybe we can sell this boy on taking instruction. Maybe we'll make him a good Catholic. And when he gets to be a good Catholic, then rather obviously the marriage will be absolutely fine. So they went to work to sell him. Well, it was an easy sale because he was already sold on the product. I mean, it moved smoothly. He started taking instructions. The wedding day was set. The announcements were sent out. The gifts started coming in. Everything was all go. 3 days before the wedding, the girl came in shedding those big old crocodile tears. She said, Mom, it's all off. Send back the gifts. Call the priest. Cancel the church. Tell everybody it's no-go. Mother said, well, daughter, I'm puzzled. I don't understand. What happened? I thought we had him sold on being a good Catholic. Girl said, Mom, that's the problem. Said, we have oversold. He's going to be a priest.
Take a deep breath now and get ready to do some exercises with your voice. Being a sales professional means knowing how you sound as well as knowing what to say. Zig Ziglar is going to show you how voice inflection can make or break a sale. You'll also learn that all-important distinction between price and cost.
Probably the most neglected area in the world of sales training has to do with the use of your voice. I'm now going to make a very strong statement. In my judgment, the most important thing you can do to dramatically improve your closing percentages and to make more sales is to deliberately train your voice. Learn how to use voice inflections, because most people simply do not properly approach that. A lot of people learn the other things, but for whatever reason, they learn how to use their voice by accident. Strong statement to make now. If you do not have your own cassette player recorder, you, my friend, are not in the world of selling yet. Or at least you're not deadly serious about becoming as much as you can become. You absolutely must get a good cassette recorder. You must record your presentation. It would be ideal if it could be in front of a live prospect. If that cannot be handled, then you put it in a classroom situation, the full presentation. Give it everything you got. Do it as you normally would do. Then you need to do two things. You need to listen back and analyze, and then you need to script your presentation. You need to do the same thing with the way you answer objections, the way you close sales. The whole bit needs to be recorded. You're going to discover some interesting, some pleasing, and some information that you won't be glad to get, except for the fact that it will help you to become infinitely more professional. You're going to discover, first of all, that the chances are about 9 to 1 that you talk too much. That's right. The second thing you're going to discover is that particularly toward the end of the presentation, you have the tendency to get into much of a monotone. And the third thing you're going to discover is that you deal in a lot of areas that have nothing whatever to do with the sale itself. Let me tell you what's going to happen. When you put the words to script, they're going to remind you of some things that you have forgotten. You're going to then write those things down, those points, those examples, those ideas. And when you write down what you'd been using, combined with what you had forgotten, some beautiful new ideas are going to be generated from it. You're going to have a surge in the growth of your self-image. You're going to realize that you're much further down the path as a professional than you realized that you were. All right, now, I mentioned the fact that you've now gotten a great deal of information. You now need to start training your voice so that you can make it more effective. You do that, first of all, as you listen to that presentation, you ask yourself a question. If I were calling on me with that presentation I just made, would I be convinced? Would I buy from me? That's a very important thing. Then we need to look at how we change the inflection of the voice to make those words more effective. You can change meaning with voice inflection. Let me give you one sentence with 8 words in it to show you what I'm talking about. The sentence has 8 different meanings depending on the way your voice is used. The sentence is, I did not say he beat his wife. Now, when I make the statement like that, that simply is a statement of fact. And that's all it is, a statement of fact. That's the first meaning. Now, the second meaning you can give it with voice inflection is, I did not say he beat his wife. The statement was made, but it's by somebody else. It wasn't me. The third statement can be simply a vehement denial. I did not say he beat his wife. The fourth statement can be, I did not say he beat his wife. I implied it, no question about that, but I sure didn't say it. Number 5, I did not say he beat his wife. Is that fellow over there? He's the one who did it. The sixth statement, I did not say he beat his wife, slapped her around a little bit, but he sure didn't beat her. The next one, I did not say he beat his wife. He's beating that other fellow's wife. That's what he was doing. And finally, the 8th one, I did not say he beat his wife. That was his little sister you saw him slapping around. Now, what's that got to do with selling? I believe it has everything in the world to do with selling. All I'm saying is that with voice inflection, you can give it an entirely different perspective and an entirely different meaning. You can tell your child to do something, or you can ask a prospect to do something, and it can either be in love or hate using the same words. But the tone, the inflection of your voice is what makes the difference. And so as we look at the voice inflection close, you learn to do the things I'm talking about. First, by taking that one sentence, I did not say he beat his wife. Or you can take the next sentence, I did not say he stole the money. And you need to use those sentences into a recorder until a stranger can listen to them and tell you what those words are saying. Now, you'll have to practice that a number of different times, and you'll have to listen carefully and make it come back. And when you have then done that successfully, now re-record your presentation. With the new voice inflection and the new information, you will discover that in a matter of a month, you can dramatically increase the impact of that presentation. Then as you listen to this recording, you will want to play these things over and over, and you'll need to back it up and then spread it forward and back it up and then let it go forward to hear this particular thing a number of times from here on in. How many of you have prospects who occasionally say to you that your price is a little out of line? Can I see your hands? I know of very few salespeople who do not encounter that objection. Now, some of them bring it up in one way, some in another. One guy will be dogmatic, that price is ridiculous. You might have an old boy down home kind of a philosopher who will kind of say, well, you folks kind of proud of that stuff you sell, ain't you? Another one might be a little timid or a little hesitant, and he'll say, well, it seems to me that that price is a little high. Now, they're all talking about price, but you handle them in a different way. The prospect who says that price is ridiculous, you simply lower your voice and repeat almost verbatim what they said. The price is ridiculous? Now that sounds so simple, but you'll need to practice it on your recorder a number of times. What you have done psychologically is you now have moved the objection back over to his side of the table. Now he's got to justify his statement instead of you defending the price. And there is a lot of difference. Now, in selling somebody, if you can make that customer start thinking, see, if you are selling a legitimate product at a legitimate price, and it is in their best interest to buy, then you're making them think along those identical lines. Yes, voice inflection can play a tremendous role in selling. It means that you're selling on the offense instead of the defense. Now, suppose that the prospect has simply said to you, it seems to me that the price is a little out of line. Now, please understand one thing. There are a lot of prospects who, for whatever reason, will automatically say the price is too high. Makes no difference what it is. They think that puts them in a better position to negotiate a better price or to get a better deal in some way, form, or fashion from you. And so they automatically going to say something about the price being a little too high. What you need to do is find out if price really is the problem, or is there another issue. My friend John Hammond has successfully handled literally thousands of objections of this nature. And what he does is very simple. He looks at the prospect and says, if there were a way I could show you that the price is more than fair and the product is worth every dime we're asking, would you go ahead and take advantage of our offer today? Now what you're going to do is find out, is price the objection, or is there something else? This forces the prospect to make a commitment based on price when his real objection might be color, style, neighborhood, or something else you could and should, even must identify. If this is the situation, his response is going to be, well, no, not really. Price is not really the problem. And when he says that, then you can simply say, then there must be some other reason you're hesitating. Would you mind if I ask what that reason might be? A superb procedure for smoking out the real objection. Price is too high. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Prospect. Do you like the product? Notice again all the questions we're asking. Do you like the product? Well, yes, I like it, but it's just that the price is high. Lower your voice. Look your prospect right in the eye. And I'll say this so many times throughout the series. Look the prospect in the eye. Then you lower your voice and look at him and say, wouldn't you agree, Mr. Prospect, that it is difficult to pay too much for something you really like? Now that's a pretty good question. And if you're selling a low-ticket item, cosmetics, brushes, necktie, wallet, items, that are not a significant purchase in itself, a single item, a lot of times that one question is enough. But if you're selling a lifetime insurance program, or if you're selling a fancy luxury automobile, or if you're selling a home at $200,000, you're going to have to come up with more than that. A lot of times say, yeah, well, I see what you mean, but yeah, I think you can pay too much for something, even if you really do like it. I'd like to have a Cadillac, but I'm not going to give you $50,000 for one. But what you've done is significant because you have started that individual to thinking. Now this brings us right back to something important. We call it the fear of loss close. Again, remember that the fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. You need to establish in that prospect's mind the fact that he's safe in dealing with you, that he's not going to lose. And for him, a loss could either be money or it could be embarrassment, a loss of face. He's not going to lose by buying from you, but he will lose product benefits if he doesn't buy from you. So one effective way to do this is simply to say, Mr. Prospect, let me point out that you're going to be concerned about price only one time. That's when you buy. But you're going to be concerned with quality during the entire lifetime of the product. Then you lower your voice, look him right in the eye again and say, wouldn't you agree that it's better to invest a little more than you had planned instead of a little less than you should? That is a good question. Wouldn't you agree that it's better to invest a little more than you had planned instead of a little less than you should? You see, if you invest a little more than you had planned, all you're talking about is pennies. If you invest less than you should, and the product will not do what you had wanted it to do, then you literally lose everything. A little more than you had planned instead of a little less than you should. My good friend, the late Dick Gardner, put it this way: why settle for the get-by when in the long run the good cost less? That's a powerful statement. It's a profound statement. Why settle for the get-by when in the long run the good costs less? That leads us into the cost close. Prospect still said it costs too much. Then you simply ask, Mr. Prospect, if you could convince yourself that the price is more than fair, would you have any objection to going ahead with a yes decision today? Then the next question. Are you really concerned about price, or is it cost you're concerned about? Is it price or is it cost? Now, in the world of selling, what we want to do is to eliminate as many areas of doubt. Remember we said earlier, they don't buy based on what they hear, they don't buy based on what they see, they don't buy based on what you show them or what you say them. They buy based on all of those that they can believe. Is it price or cost you're going to be concerned about? And in most cases, your prospect will say to you, well, what do you mean? What is the difference between price and cost? And then here's the example I use. Again, you need to translate. I will say this, I guess, 50 times throughout this entire series. You need to translate so that it fits your sales situation. I'm going to use an example because, number one, it happened to me. Number two, it beautifully and perfectly demonstrates exactly what I'm talking about. 1971, we went down to buy my son, who at that time was 6 years old, a bicycle. Now, in 1971, we went, first of all, to the Swin bicycle shop. And the bicycle we looked at was $64.95. Well, in 1971, you just don't spend $65 to buy a 6-year-old a bicycle. He's just going to tear it up anyhow. So we, as prudent parents, went down to the discount store and found a really neat little bicycle for $34.95. Now, the price of one was $64.95. The price of the other was $34.95. We were excited about that $34.95 price. We bought it. 6 weeks later, we went into the same store to get new handlebars for it. Now, because it was in warranty, they gave them to us. Didn't cost us anything. About a month later, though, we went back in to get more new handlebars, and now the warranty is no longer in effect, and so we ended up investing $4.50 for those new handlebars. About 2 months later, the entire sprocket apparatus came completely unglued. So we went down, and when we got through, the bill was $15 and change. I don't know exactly how much. About a month later, the bearings in one of the wheels went kaput. We went down, and they were going to cost $3, $4, $5, $6, I don't know how many dollars, because at that point we threw in the towel. We said, enough is enough is enough. At that point, you see, we had invested $54.45 in that bicycle. We then went down to the Swin bicycle shop and invested $64.95 in the Swin bicycle. Now, my son literally rode that bicycle until he got to be too big to ride it. For 10 years, he was, when he was 16 years old, he was still playing riding it. He was too big by then to actually ride it. But in 10 years' time, we did not invest another dime in that bicycle with the exception of 2 tires, and that had nothing to do with the quality of the bicycle. So let's look at what we're talking about. The price of this one was $34.95, the least expensive bicycle. We used that bicycle not counting the downtime. My son rode it for 6 months. That means the cost of that bicycle was $9 a month. That was the cost. The Swin bicycle, he rode it and used it for 10 years. Total price, $65. That means that my son, that we had ridden that bicycle for $6.50 a year. That was the cost of it. Mr. Prospect, one priced to $34.95 but cost $9 a month. The other one was priced at $64.95, but it only cost $6.50 a year. Let me ask you again, Mr. Prospect, is it price you're concerned about, or is it cost? In the cost close, then you simply lower your voice, you look them in the eye, and you say, there are many people, Mr. Prospect, who can beat us on price, but nobody beats us on cost. Since price is a one-time thing and cost is a lifetime thing, if I'm reading you right, I'm betting that you're mostly interested in cost, aren't you? We can have this installed by next Friday, or if there's an emergency, we can have it in by Tuesday. Which would you prefer? I believe when you educate, you see, that's what that close beautifully does. It educates them to a fact. It educates them to the possibilities that your product has to offer. You see, I believe we as salespeople have a strong moral obligation. If we sell a good product at a fair price, if we honestly feel that it does help the prospect, I believe we have a moral responsibility to learn as much as we can about making the sale so that we can help them get what they want. That way we also obviously get what we want. Incidentally, dealing with the price objection again, you got to remember that a lot of people just automatically say the price is too high. One other thing you can do, I'm glad you're concerned about price, Mr. Prospect, because that's one of our most attractive advantages. Would you agree then, as a practical matter, a product is worth what it can do for you and not what you have to pay for it? That's what a product is worth. A glass of water could be worth $1 million if you were 3 miles out in the desert and about to die, and a glass of water was the energy you needed to get back in. The price of the glass of water, if somebody came along selling water and said it's $10 a glass, I guarantee you wouldn't haggle over the price. If you had the money, you would buy the water. Mr. Prospect, our company had to make a choice between building our product as cheaply as possible and selling it as a get-by product, or building quality into the product for service, durability, and your long-lasting enjoyment. In short, for long-range value and benefit. Most people, Mr. Prospect, and I'll bet that includes you, clearly understand that good things are not cheap, and cheap things are seldom good. There's so many things that can be said, but people do forget about the price. They never, though, forget about poor quality and poor service. But what I'm saying is that people do forget price. They do not forget the quality of the merchandise. Unless it's lousy, then they'll remember that forever and ever. And then the next close that I want to use is what I call the quality close. The prospect says, well, all of that sounds good, but yeah, the price is still too high. Now, this is one you can use as the finale. This is one you use in a department store. Or if you're selling a low-ticket item, this might be the only close that you need. If it is a high-ticket item you're selling, then you don't use this one in the beginning, you use it a little later on. The prospect says the price is still too high. You lower your voice. You look at your prospect and you say, well, you know, Mr. Prospect, many years ago our company made a basic decision. We decided that it would be easier to explain price one time than it would be to apologize for quality forever. And I'll bet you're glad we made that decision, aren't you? Now, you can use that for low-ticket items or high-ticket items. If it's a high-ticket item, you would not use it initially. Then occasionally you'll have a prospect, and we call this the answer for everything close. Occasionally you'll have a prospect who'll say, well, I must commend you. Doesn't make any difference what I bring up. You've got an answer for it. Or they might say, well, you've certainly done your homework. Doesn't make any difference what I say. You know exactly what to say, or you come back at me. You get me every time. But if you want to make the sale, then you need to lower your voice, look them right in the eye and say, well, you know, Mr. Prospect, I really appreciate that comment, and I'm going to take it as a compliment. But realistically, there are many things I don't have the answer to. That's one of the reasons I'm so excited about selling the product, which is the answer to your problem. And that's what you really want, isn't it? Nodding your head as you do. I've said 100 times through the series, the right words, the right voice inflection, the right intent will substantially improve your professionalism and the results that you get in the world of selling.
Let's step back a minute to consider something really fundamental. Belief. You know, selling is nothing less than a transference of feeling. And remember, buyers are believers first. Now, it's hard to be enthusiastic and convincing if you yourself haven't mentally and emotionally purchased your own product or service. Here's a story about a salesman who turned himself around in one day with Zig's help. Zig made him a believer. In this part of Zig Ziglar's Secrets of Closing the Sale, you'll hear the crucial difference between sympathy and empathy, and how this difference can increase your sales percentages. Some closes to listen for here are Get 'em Smiling